my name is Sofia. Welcome to Ubidots Live again. So today we will be talking about Ubifunctions, still IoT, and Ubidots. And today we have with us David, that is our IoT application engineer, and and Agustin, who is our CEO and co-founder. So, Agus, tell us a little.
Sure. Hello, everybody. For those of you who are new, we held Facebook Live 2 weeks ago, and we look forward to see you coming again to our future Facebook Lives. And today, as Sophia mentioned, we are going to talk about a very exciting feature, and of course, all the Q&A that we typically do in these spaces, and that is Ubifunctions. So let's talk a little bit about what an Ubifunction is and why did we decide to incorporate this into Ubidots' application deployment platform. So as you might be aware of, there's a new trend in computing called serverless functions. So the idea with serverless function is that you run your code in the cloud only for specific times. So that means instead of having a server that runs 100% of the time, that was what is typically called infrastructure as a service, you would have small snippets of code that you can commission to a cloud provider so that it's run only for the time that that function lasts. So this is another name to call it is functions as a service, as the name suggests. And this is widely used in computing in general. It's very useful for web application. There's kind of a new paradigm in cloud computing and web application, which is called microservices. So function as a services were born as a way to run microservices within web applications. Now, what does that have to do with IoT? So we found out through working with our customers that a lot of devices and a lot of third-party applications were generating data in different formats. So before we used to work with our clients and say, okay, is your device sending a binary data, like the example David is going to show us today? How can we split that binary data to put it into the variables that you need at Ubidots? As you might be aware of, Ubidots supports REST API. We have a JSON format, as we talked about 2 weeks ago. And this is a very standard format for the web, but it might not be the most friendly one for some specific devices. So with this in mind, and also with the advent of new platforms, such as the Things Network, Sigfox, and other third-party cloud platform providers, where the device sends data to this third-party platform and then reports it to another application, such as Ubidots, we saw a perfect environment to use functions as a service to enable your application development. So today, David is going to be showing us some very technical explanations, as most of you are a technical audience. We like to call you guys IoT Entrepreneurs. You are creating value, you are coming up with the next big things through hardware, software, and the convergence of digital and the physical. So with this in mind, we want to speak your language and get right to it with some very practical applications of Ubifunctions in the IoT space. And with that, I'm gonna hand it over to David.
Okay, David, before you go, we already have our first question for Agustin.
Cool.
So what type of data payloads can UbiFunctions Engine accept?
Okay, cool. So this is in this essence, Ubifunctions allows you to create a REST API. So we accept a JSON format, but within that JSON format, you can send your own binary code. So for example, you can send a base 64 encoded data frame. You can send a simple string and cut it down into pieces. You can send, like for example, some third-party platforms such as the Things Network. They send a predefined JSON format that you can then go inside and code it, and decode it in a Ubifunction. Now, that's the off-the-shelf component or off-the-shelf functionality. We do have some clients that have specific requests. So there's a bike-sharing company very cool out of Latin America that's creating some smart locks for bicycles. And in their case, because they had a very specific firmware, they were using the TCP protocol. So at the end, we end up enabling what we call a TCP gateway only for them. And then this TCP gateway routes the traffic to an Ubifunction. So all of a sudden, you can send any other protocol and route it to an Ubifunction and use the same interface you will be looking at today.
Okay. Sorry guys, but we have another question. And Mauricio is asking us if we have considered creating an on-premise solution to use your IoT management platform to clients that do not have a solution to the internet.
Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna divide it into two questions. The first one is we do have an on-premise option. It's already been implemented with some key customers in healthcare and oil and gas, where there's a strong compliance pressure to host the data in a specific country. And in these cases, we work closely with our clients to deploy to either AWS, Amazon, IBM Lumix, or Google Cloud, or Microsoft Azure. So this is already built in. Now, what you're asking is more of an on-premise kind of edge solution. So this is something that is technically possible, and we will have to connect on a one-to-one basis to understand the environment where these servers will be running. Because if it's a private cloud where our DevOps engineers would have access to the servers through SSH or some kind of secure management console, then yes, it is definitely possible. If it's a server that is going to be completely isolated out in the fields, then we might be looking at a newer version or a different version of an on-premise that we call Edge, and that's something that we are not sure yet whether we want to launch it this year or not. It's really based on customer demands, and for now, the on-premise in the private cloud has been the one with the most demand. But again, happy to connect on a one-to-one basis and clear this out for you and see what kind of solution we can offer on a customized basis.
Thanks.
Cool.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
It's your turn.
So guys, it's my turn. Thank you, Agus, for your introduction and explain to everyone what is Ubifunction and its functionality to Ubidots, an IoT development platform. Also, thank you, Sophie, for presenting us. As she mentioned, I'm David. I'm an IoT application engineer here at Ubidots. Probably the guy who is behind the screen helping you guys every day, like connecting to Ubidots, using Ubifunctions. And in that sense, and in doing that every day, I quite like converting myself in an expertise in Ubifunctions. So that's why I'm here. I want to share this with you, and I hope you enjoy it. So that's it. Let's jump right on it. And let me show you two examples I have prepared to you. So I have, as Agustin told you, there are a lot of things you can do with Ubifunctions. One is retrieving data from a third-party platform. Here, for example, I have two Ubifunctions called Bitcoin Python and Bitcoin Node.js. They both do the same, but I just wanted to show you that we support both languages, so you feel comfortable in whatever language of this you code better. So I'm going to show you how it works. It's quite easy. Show you a little bit of the interface. Here you put your name, your function name. There is a particular thing here with method. You can decide whether you want to activate your parser or your Ubifunction with a post request or a get request. And in this case, I'm using post because here I'm pointing out to an API called Bitcoin Des API that will retrieve the Bitcoin data every 5 minutes, right? So it's quite simple. You just have to make a get request. Here I have it. I'm going to highlight it. You make a make request to this API, and that retrieves our value of the Bitcoin every 5 minutes. And how do I know it's every 5 minutes? Well, here Ubifunctions lets you set up a time-based trigger for your function. In this case, I have it in 5 minutes, but you can whether put it every X period you want to trigger your Ubifunctions. Then, following up with our function, once you get the data retrieved from Coindex API, it's quite easy to access because they send you back a JSON file. So as you know, this is the standard right now for web services, and getting data from JSON file is quite easy. So for example, here I can retrieve, this is the Bitcoin value, I call it payload. So you guys know that the payload is what you're going to send to Ubidots. And the context, just to inform a little bit more about what is being retrieved. So here in the payload, I have the Bitcoin value, and then in context, I say like, hey, I'm retrieving the Bitcoin value, but to which currency do you have it? In this case, it's USD, right? So from that point on, only what is missing is sending that data to Ubidots. And here I do it with this function called Ubidots function. It's just an HTTP post request that you can see it right here. I'm highlighting it. As you see, it's a couple of lines. They are always the same. So I send the data to a device label. I'm going to show you later which is the device. A variable label that in this time would be a Bitcoin value, our data, and our context. Yep. So I hope you guys understood this. And now I'm going to show you what is the result now in the Ubidots console. We go to devices. I'm sorry for the delay. And here, as I told you, I call my device cryptocurrency, right? Because I'm retrieving data from a cryptocurrency. And now we have two variables. One is called Bitcoin, that is the one being retrieved by the Node.js code, and another one that is the same is being retrieved by the Python code. Later on I will show you this, but it's almost the same. And as you can see, I set up this Ubifunction last night, so I have data to show you today. So you here can see all the records from data being retrieved from yesterday, and all the Bitcoin values every 5 minutes. This is particularly valuable for people who wants to, for example, monitor ambient weather variables from free platforms, free third-party APIs. And in this case, I just did the Bitcoin price, but for example, if you have an application where you have to retrieve the energy value every time because you are in the smart energy business and you want to calculate your cost every minute. So you retrieve the data from a third-party API that is give you the pricing of the energy every minute. And then you compute that within your Ubifunction, and based on your value or energy consumption, you can then calculate your pricing. And going back to Ubifunctions, this is one really nice function I did yesterday, because it exemplifies what a data transformation may look like from a third-party code or protocol. As Agustin told you before, we can enable people to use their own protocol, and then with a Ubifunction adjust that data or parse that data to fit our API. Here I show you then an Ubifunction called binary transformation. And just to give you a little bit background on this function, this is actually a protocol we made for one of our clients that require like a data to use less data in their devices. Since they are using mobile devices, then data or consumption data is really high if you send Ubidots data directly to our API. So what we did here is give him a special protocol based on their data, and we parse it here. So let me show you, for example, first the following. Here I can show you our example data. This is a data frame in hexadecimal that obviously doesn't fit our API. But then we parse it. I'm going to show you later, guys. I just want to show you something like this. These bytes, for example, correspond to the device ID. Then you have the state, the speed, odometer, and rangefinder, and all the variables they want to send to Ubidots, but in a compressed manner, right? So here in our function, all I do is receive that data and parse it. So for example, if I want to find the state of the device, then I just read our data frame starting from the 13th byte, and this is just an unassigned integer. So this way, they just manage to lower the data usage and communicate with Ubidots in a simple manner. No, I don't want to bother you with all these functions, but they are byte-wise operation. As you can see here, for example, I'm going to highlight it. This is a variable called pneumatics e-signal, and just is a shift 7 times to the right from the data frame, starting from the 33 bytes in the data frame. And then I have my payload. It's a really quite big payload. And as I show you in the previous function, we have the same, an Ubidots post request. Then we have our device label that is extracted from here. I'm going to show you. The device label is here. It's coming in the data as I show you in the image, in the Google image. Device label. So I parse it and make a post request to the device, to all the variable labels according to our Ubidots API, and then we have all our data running on Ubidots. So allow me please so you see this live. Here I have a sample code, a sample JSON coming as data, and then all the frame I just show you. If I run this with this input, then you will see we are running a serverless cloud function in, wow, that is really bad. Try it again.
Yeah, maybe the code was edited and.
Yeah, the thing here is streaming live video and making cloud serverless function don't go along.
No, it's fine. I think making the point of being able to split a binary data frame is exactly what we were looking forward to see. And again, this all depends on the customer. So it's all custom data frames. So you are the ones that decide the order of the function, the device ID, the variables that you wish to send, the latitude, the longitude. It's all on your end. And then again, in your Ubidots account, you can create functions such as this one to split this code into different chunks and send it as a JSON string. I have a question, David. What happens? This is in fact, a great thing that happened because debugging is an essential part of coding. So whenever I'm exposed to a new IDE or a new type of coding environment, it's good to see what happens in the rears or in the back to know what should be corrected. How can I log things? So you're using Node-RED. Can you log things? I see some console.log is to see for debugging purposes.
Yeah, Agus, that's quite a nice question. Here, as debugging, as you said, is really important to us coders or developers, since we need to know if the code is running well. So, as you saw before, this is a console that shows you what is the response or the actual result from our code. Here you have a log console and a function output that it would show you what is being done by your code. Also, once it's already done, if you go here to log functions, you would see all the logs from your Ubifunction. For example, here in the morning I make one, and I'm going to show you once it's loading that we could send data to Ubidots successfully. And how do I know that? Because then you have here something called a status code. So this status code indicates that every variable that I sent was successfully published to Ubidots. So for example, essential odometer was published to Ubidots. And here, just the output is when you print console.log and you want to see every progress, every line you want to log in your Ubifunctions. So for example, here I have printed all my JSON that is being sent to Ubidots. And jumping right on it on the device view, I want to show you how this looks on the Ubidots device view.
People is asking if maybe you could do zoom on the code so they can see it better.
Yep.
Sorry.
So thank you, Sophie. Just let me show you how would look this in the device view, and then I'm going back to the function and show you a little bit more closer the code. So here you have it, all the variables I was sending from that special data frame. For example, essential state, the one I showed you in the first, or essential odometer. So here is the function, here is the variable, showing the data I just parsed. I just have sent a little bit, a few dots. That's how we call data, or updating a data value. And we have here all the same because I've been testing with the same data frame. So going back to our Ubifunctions, let me just get closer to the function. Well, Sophie, who asked about getting close? Maybe I can spot a particular area in our code.
Actually, different people is asking us to get closer to the code because they cannot see it that well and they're really interested in what you're doing. So
yeah, of course.
Yeah, probably it's just...
I hope this better our looking to you. So as I told you, for example, let's just rephrase a little bit on the bitwise operations. And here, for example, for the variable essential odometer, I just read an unsigned integer of 32 bytes, and I bitwise this, and I shift the data frame 10 times to the right, so I can read the data. Is there another question about the code, Sophie?
Not yet. People have other questions. If we want, we can move to other questions.
Yeah, of course, we can move to any question you may have. We are open to answer, and if in doing so you have another question about Ubifunctions, please do so, and we're glad here to answer them. Okay,
so right now the first question we had is that Edson was asking us, or he was telling us, he's new in Ubidots and he's planning to use a dashboard on a beer fermentation and production. How can I use Ubidots to receive data and take decisions based on temperature and gravity? I already use to make some graphics. And he says hi from Brazil.
Okay, perfect. Well, hi, Edson. Good to know we have somebody in the audience from Brazil today. So big shout out to all of you guys in Brazil. Yeah, beer fermentation is actually a very typical case. There was a project a while ago that was carried out by a guy in Germany to measure the angle of a special, you call it tilt, and how do you call it? The ice spindle. What was the project? Yeah, and basically based on the angle of when he threw this device into the beer barrels, based on the angle, he could see the density of the beer and determine whether it was ready for production. I mean, to be drunk or not. Now, with that, we do have a lot of use cases in beer fermentations, both in Ubidots for Education and Ubidots for Business. So, in terms of what you can act on top of your data, so I see you already have some graphics. You can create alerts that send you SMS, emails, or something related to the beer that you're brewing to know if it's on the right track. You can also check level tank volume readers to see if to manage the assets and know that all your beer is there. You can also, well, go into Ubifunctions if there are any particular computations that you need to make based on different variables. For example, let's say you're sending a gyroscope data of a sensor you threw to the barrel, and then based on that gyroscope data, you want to compute the angle and therefore do some sort of elaborate calibration to know the density of the beer, kind of to make that unit exchange. You can use UbiFunctions to do these kind of things. So happy to learn more about your project. If you have pictures, if you want exposure, if you're going to the market with a specific device for more beer brewers, we'd love to know about it and even help you go faster to market.
Edson was telling us that he's using Spindle to acquire data.
That's awesome. So iSpindle is the exact same project I was talking about. So this guy in Germany who did this open hardware design, and now it's being used all across the world. And he shared his code on GitHub. It's Ubidots compatible right off the shelf, and it's perfect. So Edson, if you need any help, we actually happen to have an iSpindle here in one of our shelves. If you happen to have any questions regarding the iSpindle, how to take it maybe from Ubidots for Education to Ubidots Industrial, happy to work one by one with you, because who doesn't love beer making applications for IoT?
Okay, and we have another question that talks about Ubifunctions. I will answer all the questions, but I want to talk about this since it's Ubifunctions. So are Ubifunctions available in the educational platform, or is it only for the industrial platform? I would love if you could also explain them a little about the difference between both platforms.
Sure. So that's a great question. So the short answer is it's not available. So we have Ubidots for Education as an environment where we foster the creation and prototyping and innovation that happens around IoT. And Ubifunction is a new feature that we developed on top of Ubidots Industrial. Now, there are a lot of instances where we do port features that we see as being super useful in industrial. We can make them available to education. This is a voting process that happens all across our user base. We're going to take that as an upvote for having Ubifunctions in Ubidots for Education. Now, the difference is Ubidots for Education is a mostly free platform that allows you to connect one device for free. We give you 5,000 credits that you can use over time. So if you have 10 devices, they will deplete over time. So you can still use it for free, and probably at the 6th month or 7th month, you would have to upcharge to recharge your account with $5 minimum. So it's really our effort to make IoT available for all. And then we expect not all of you guys, but the ones that are building projects not just for themselves, but to help as IoT entrepreneurs to sell your creations out to the market, then is where we transition you guys to Ubidots Industrial. But I'm going to take that as an upvote and put it under consideration. I'm glad that shows that you like the feature, so I'm going to take that as a good thing.
Okay, so we have a lot of questions actually. So let's continue. Mike, sorry that it took me so long to do your question, but Mike is asking, he's working on an application that will require up to 1,000 devices to be controlled for tank farm telemetry, okay? I will be using the same dashboard layout for each device tracked. Is there a way? What? Is there a way to have a top-level dashboard that lets me see an overview of all the devices, active alarms, etc.? And if users wish to view detailed data from a device, they can open each particular device dashboard?
Sure. Yeah, Mike, nice meeting you over Facebook Live. Thanks for your question. We did an announcement 2 weeks ago, so it's a great opportunity to share this. We are working on a feature called, or not just a feature, it's a complete overhaul of our dashboarding feature. So we're going to have increased speed, new types of widgets, and among those features is going to have the possibility to have a single dashboard where you select a device and then have all the widgets automatically update with the variables pertaining to that device to make sure you don't have to have 1,000 dashboards, but just one with a single layout that just can be applied to several devices. So this is coming up mid-October, and we really look forward to your feedback. So please keep an eye on this. We'll be communicated over Facebook and email about this new launch, and we can't wait to receive your feedback and also new features that could derive from you seeing this new feature. So new ideas, anything, just keep it coming. Thanks.
Okay. Also, Chip asked us, I am a long-time Ubidots user and love your service. Thank you.
Chip.
Thank you, Chip.
As the number of the devices in my account grow, it is getting harder to manage events using the portal. Is there a way that I can set an event that applies to many devices that share a variable name that it's easier than the web interface?
Sure. So in the same lines, some of you might have noticed, hi Chip.
Hi, Chip.
This is David, the one from
I'm David. You probably know me from the chat. That's
Yeah.
really nice to see you here, and I hope you're enjoying this.
Yeah.
A personal note.
Yeah, that's why Facebook Live is so cool.
Yeah.
So you might have noticed we launched this quarter. We launched a feature called device types. So device types is the first of many features that target the problem of scaling your device deployment. So with device type, what we did is you create a single device type and you specify the type, the color of the device, the name of the variables. If you happen to have synthetic variables that calculate based on a raw variable, then you won't have to create 1,000 variables, and for each device, you can do this automatically with device types. Now, this was the first step, and now what goes after this is exactly applying this capability to our other models. So dashboards, as I said, is based on this ability to create more devices. And events, there's something called global events, also for mid-October, that where we will enable you to, just as you create an event today, where you select device and then a variable, you could switch to something called device groups and say, I want to apply this event to a device group, and then automatically you can have a single event for 1,000 devices. Now we will ensure you get backwards compatibility. And the reason this is important is because a lot of customers, even though they love this idea, they want to stick to the process of having one event per device. This is the case where they have hundreds of end clients and they want to assign some particular set of events to a client, or what we call inside Ubidots an organization. So we will ensure backwards compatibility, so you're still able to create single events per device, assign them to organizations, and optionally you can also do the other option to create a global event.
Perfect. Also, Carlos is asking us, Carlos, are you thinking to implement Python? Oh wait, Python instead of Node-RED for parse?
Hey, Carlos. I think I'll also know you. I'm also the one behind the screen. When I was showing our Ubifunctions setup or capability, I told you guys that we also support Python. So I'm just jump right ahead and show you how it will look like. I'm going to change the screen to show you Ubifunctions working on or running on Python 3. Just give me a second.
Oh, yeah.
Did you already? Yeah. So as you can see, I'm already sharing my screen. Here is a code, the same code I have for the CoinDesk data, retrieving Bitcoin data. So here in this option, the runtime, you can whether choose between Node.js 8 or Python 3. But if you want to use Python 3, you gotta talk to us, write an email or drop a note to our in-app chat, and telling us, hey, I want to code in Python, and we will activate this feature to you. So here is pure Python. You have it there. Sophie, do you have any question? Another question?
I actually have another question. I'm sorry if I pronounce this bad. Rudranil Das is telling us that he works for a edutech company and that he teaches a lot of IoT. So he wanted to know how much Open Ubidots is about an educational partnership with a startup in edutech company.
Let's switch.
I can do that.
Cool. Rudranil, thanks for your question. I want to take the opportunity to share a very cool story with you guys. The short answer is yes. There's a school for children in Bali, in Indonesia, that is actually using Ubidots, and we're gonna make sure we share this video on our social media, because they are a new type of educational paradigm where they focus on STEM subjects and they teach kids by making stuff. And we work with Green School is their name, to help them get a license at a more affordable price, and kind of provide our 2 cents to help STEM education spread across the world. So we love these kind of initiatives, and we have a number of special projects for this type of Ubidots for good kind of thing. All of our projects are either for efficiency or saving CO2 emissions, making things more efficient, but there are some that are educational and we love too. So please drop us a note, and we'd love to hear more how we can empower your project.
Okay, I have another question. Someone sent it, well, a client sent us through email, and it is, which programming languages can I use in Ubifunction?
Well, thank you for asking this. As I told you before, guys, Ubifunction supports both Node.js 8 and Python 3. And if you want to code in Python, you just have to letting us know about it in the app channel, or writing an email to support@ubidots.com, and we will enable it to your account. Is there a question? Agustin, you want to say something else?
Because I think, so I think that could be pretty much everything for today. If we get any questions, we will answer you via email or just by direct message in Facebook. But yeah, I think that's everything for today. Do you want to say anything else? No?
No, I mean, thank you guys for joining. And again, we always kick off these Facebook Lives with some technical topic. Today was Ubifunctions. 2 weeks ago was Node-RED, where we also scrapped the price of a Bitcoin using different tool. Today we use Ubifunctions. In 2 weeks it could be anything else. So if you have ideas or things that you would like to explore more, or even more, if you have a project that you would like to share and kind of host a joint Facebook Live with us, please feel free to reach out to us. And most importantly, it's not just about the technical topic that we explain, it's more about having a conversation, because ultimately we are building Ubidots together.
Okay, so thank you a lot, guys. We will be back in 2 weeks, Thursday, probably at the same time. Yeah. And let us know if you have any questions, and as Agus was saying, just let us know if you have any topics that you want to discuss. This is a space for us to connect with you and answer any questions you have about IoT or Ubidots. So thank you, guys.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye.